Don't mind. All right. Okay.
And as our last speaker, we have a man who was good enough to open a proper store, a dispensary, filled with love. Evidently, I'm so glad to hear, filled with love and giving, and the purpose behind really what we come out to provide cannabis for others, to provide this information, to provide the good healing. Aari, Ruben is with us today, and I'd like to give him an applause. Thank you so much for joining us, sir, and thank you for the good work that you do.
So I'm really glad to be here, Kathy. Thank you and Mom Force for all you guys have done, and thank everybody else for the information that you presented and everyone for coming. Everyone's done such a good job in talking about some of the details of what we do, how to get a card, and what the conditions are and such, that I would like to focus a little bit on our method and how we conceptualize that. It's actually a new method for healthcare that's being taught called functional medicine, and it's in clinical practice in a couple of universities and maybe a few other places from practitioners that believe in it. But it's a very holistic way of looking at things. When we find dysfunction in people's systems, like we've talked about, whether it's their neurological system or their immune system is deficient in some way, we identify some sort of dysfunction, and instead of intervening with surgery or allopathic medicine in the form of pills, we try to go back to the input variables that may have caused these dysfunctions to come about. And so we look at environmental exposures, we look at what their diet consists of, we look at what their daily activities consist of, we look at psychosocial factors like how their home life is and how their work life is, and if they're enjoying their daily activities. And we sort of put all those pieces of the puzzle together and figure out things that we can do naturally and holistically, short of intervening with a pill, to make their bodies work better as a whole. So we call this functional medicine. The Institute for Functional Medicine uses a tree as their diagram. In my store we have a big cannabis leaf painted, and that's our diagram. We have the body systems around the periphery, and so that's where you look for the yellowing of the leaves or the clues of dysfunction. And we have the roots of the system are then the input variables, what's going into the plant and determining how well it functions. We look at the main stem, like your body's systemic functions as a whole, and we would consider cutting into that main stem or interfering with that process to be something that we should keep as at a minimal amount if we can. There's certainly room for allopathic medicine. Some patients need pills and surgeries. We just want to see them used as a last resort. I operated a pain clinic with my father, who's a psychiatrist and pain management doctor. We were actually right around the corner here on South 4th Avenue and in Sierra Vista for 20 plus years. We employed lots of doctors who wrote lots of prescriptions, lots of pain management type drugs, morphines, oxycodones, oxycontins. And when the medical cannabis laws were being enacted here in Arizona, I decided that I wanted to pursue one of the licenses and start treating some of these people in a different way. My background is that I grew up in Sonoyta, Arizona. I went to St. Gregory College Preparatory High School here in Tucson, and a number of years later went back to the U of A and took classes in pharmacology and toxicology. We heard stuff about the endocannabinoid system, and you know, me being a science guy, we rely very heavily on our testing, because everyone's endocannabinoid system is looking for a little bit different cannabinoid profile and terpene profile. Cannabinoids on a molecular level are colorless and odorless, and so there has to be something else in the plant material that accounts for all the variety of smell and flavor that we find. And what those are is terpenes or terpenoids. They're the same essential oils that we find in flowers and spices, black pepper was mentioned earlier as potentiating the anti-cancer fighting effects of turmeric. Black pepper, or beta-carotene, is the chemical name for the essential oil. The same beta-carotene is found in black pepper, is also found in certain cannabis strains. So we use high-tech labs. We send a sample of all of our cannabis strains and all of our products to the labs. They test them for potency, which is concentration of different cannabinoids. We also measure terpenes. There's many terpenes. We're only working with about 7 at this point, but we could potentially use more in the future. And I look at this information that I receive back about each individual plant material like a fingerprint or like a profile, and they're all slightly different. We notice ratios that are common among these fingerprints, and so we try to use patients' anecdotal response about medicines that they try in our store. We find one that they like. We don't want to just keep giving them the same one over and over and over again because it loses some of its efficacy over time. Day to day, you might need slightly different terpene or cannabinoid profile to achieve the maximum health benefit. And so we change on a regular basis. But when people find a profile that works for them, we can use our test data to then find them something similar but slightly different so that we get the broadest spectrum cannabinoid profile possible into the patient. We talked about different forms of cannabis other than smoking. I'll pass this bottle of tincture around. This is what most patent medicines looked like in the late 1800s and early 1900s. This would have been a very common look on pharmacy shelves. We can make similar products out of other herbs, like Mike was talking about, and so this may be a new version of the old method of treating people's health dysfunction. Most chemistry knowledge that we have comes from the Manhattan Project in the 1940s, and so when these medicines were being used and were widely accepted and seen as very effective, they didn't really know what was in there. They just knew that it worked. And so now my job is to take what works and what we see working on the ground with individual patients and to try to quantify it and try to make it measurable so that we can reproduce it in other dispensaries and in other places in the world. We have people who are helping us with this. Thankfully, we're not doing it alone. Raphael Meshulam is in Israel. He's doing great work for the last 40 years. He isolated THC and CBD. He's also very active still at 80 years of age and working actively on developing theories about endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome, which is basically a concept that says that because of prohibition 80 years ago and these compounds being taken out of the majority of our citizens' lives, that Americans and people around the world suffer from a basic nutritional deficiency. We think that we can reverse this by getting cannabinoids into their diets, either in a psychoactive form if they prefer that, or certainly can be done without any intoxicating effect. We think that these endocannabinoid deficiencies contribute to our high rates of cancer, diabetes, many of the GI and stomach disorders like Crohn's, or the wheat allergies referred to as celiacs. Many of these diseases are sort of phantom diseases. They can't find any true cause for them, and the celiacs and the Crohn's in particular, they can't really identify a firm cause of it. But our suspicion is that it's a nutritional deficiency in the form of cannabinoids being denied to our populations over the last 50 to 80 years. So if we can help anybody with more information, that's our main job. We have Desert Bloom patient educational booklets that have a wide variety of information about measuring your response to different cannabis strains, information about the laws and the different things you'll face locally. There are condition-specific booklets that are produced by Americans for Safe Access, who's a fantastic organization that drives research and drives the acceptance of cannabis in society. And their primary objective is to have patients be able to access safe stores like mine, make their purchases in an educated and rational manner, and hopefully to further things and make that more available to everyone. There's also cannabinoid education cards that have information about the different health benefits of cannabinoids and terpenoids. Anybody have any questions about anything? Anything I didn't touch on that you really want to know about? Thank you all very much for taking the time and staying until the bitter end with us.
Aari?
Yes, sir.
I know I've said this time or two.
Thank you, Aari,
Good to see you.
Ruben.
Thank you for what you do, my
Good to
brother.
see you.
You're one
Aari,
of the few
Ruben, Desert
dispensary owners
Bloom
that I really
Reading
care about.
Center. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being here today at the Tucson Seniors Health and Wellness.
Kathy, thank you for
Thank
hosting
you, Bob.
this.
Thank you for doing everything you do. Bob Clark.
I
Look
love
at him.
educating.
We love you, Bob.
And,
We love you,
and
Bob.
that's something that I love about you, your passion to educate.